stages are accurate and still widely misleading, not because they're wrong, but because they don't measure the things that break caregivers the most. So if you've ever thought, we're in this stage, so why is this happening? It's not that you've misunderstood dementia, it's that you've been given an incomplete roadmap. Let me fill in the missing pieces for you. Hi, my name is Dr. Sinclair. I'm a neuropsychologist, dementia care specialist, and founder of the Confident Caregiver Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss the parts of dementia caregiving that doesn't show up in any of those charts. Let's jump on in. Before we jump into what's missing from the staging model, care partners, it's important for you to recognize that dementia doesn't decline or progress in this perfectly neat fashion because the brain doesn't work in this perfectly neat compartment. So different parts of the brain are impacted at different rates depending on the dementia type. And therefore, behaviors that you see are driven more by which systems are stressed than by what stage someone is in. The key systems that get stressed, care partners, are the frontal lobe, the amygdala, particularly with Alzheimer's, the hippocampus, as well as the insula. The frontal lobe is responsible for your reasoning, your judgment, your thinking abilities, as well as calming your impulses and regulating your emotions. The amygdala is the brain's alarm system. It tells us when there's a problem, particularly when we have to fight. And the hippocampus is our memory center. So if you're a person with dementia struggling with memory, it's likely that there's hippocampal damage. And the insula is important for processing internal discomfort. So those are just some of the key systems that are often attacked by dementia. But as I mentioned, different systems get attacked at different rates. If you're a person with dementia's emotional system is impacted early while their memory systems are still mild, you're still going to have a very difficult time because your person with dementia is going to be struggling to regulate their emotions. And according to those charts, because the memory damage was mild, you would not expect to be experiencing such reactivity. Think of the dementia stages like a weather forecast that only tells you the season you're in, but not the day-to-day weather. Caregivers don't struggle because they don't know the season. They struggle because no one warned them about the unpredictable weather inside that season. Here's the first thing you're not told, care partners. The staging model tracks decline, not distress. The dementia staging model was built to track functional loss, so the loss of function over time, memory, language, reasoning ability, independence. What it doesn't track is the distress, the emotional experience that accompanies all of those losses. So it doesn't track the fear, it doesn't track frustration, it doesn't track the discomfort that your person with dementia feels as their brain is deteriorating. And the way that that comes out is through anger and agitation and paranoia and emotional outbursts. And because care partners don't have a neat line on the chart to locate those emotional experiences, you often think, unfortunately, that they're doing it on purpose, that their symptoms are mild, so why are they acting this way? You start to personalize it, you start to internalize it. There's a lot of conflict that starts to develop, and it's often because these emotional experiences, the distress, is not something that's tracked neatly on the staging charts. Emotional systems often decline before memory. Here's something important to keep in mind, care partners. In many dementias, emotional changes tend to occur even before the hallmark symptoms show up. If it's Alzheimer's dementia, the hallmark symptom is going to be memory loss. So what that means is your person with dementia will often have strong emotional changes before even the memory changes look severe. And so what that means is they will remember names and phone numbers and they'll be able to have a conversation, but they're more reactive, they're more unpredictable, they're more uncharacteristic of how they usually are. That tends to show up even before the hallmark symptoms. And care partners aren't prepared for that because you're looking at the staging model thinking, oh, we're mild, we're fine. This is why care partners say they still seem so with it. Their memory is fine. Why are they treating me like this? Why are they reacting to me in this way? It's because it is indeed a symptom of brain change, of dementia changes. Their neurological braking system is already failing even though their hallmark features of dementia are mild. If this is helpful, care partners, if this is putting a name to something you've experienced but couldn't explain because you couldn't locate it on the chart, then please go ahead and like and subscribe and share this with other care partners who are equally struggling. This is the type of information that I share in the Academy so that my care partners are never blindsided. Let's move on to the next pieces that are often left out. The chart doesn't explain why behaviors feel so personal. Another thing the stages doesn't explain, care partners, is why it feels so personal, why your person with dementia can hold it together in the doctor's office and around you, they just completely fall apart. This is a concept that can be confusing, so I'm going to give you an example first, and then we're going to circle back to what I mean. For example, care partners, I want you to imagine that you are walking into a classroom and it's a classroom of preschoolers. You're going to give a presentation. While you're standing up in front of the classroom, something falls on your foot, and while you want to say, you say, oh shoot, instead, okay? Because you realize your audience, you realize the environment that you are in. Our brains naturally adjust to the environment that we're in. It's a reflex. You didn't say to yourself, I'm going to walk into that preschool classroom, and if something falls on my toe, I'm going to filter my words. You didn't do that. It just happened automatically because of the environment that you're in. Same holds true for a person with dementia. Depending on the environment that they're in, there are certain social reflexes that get activated. And so when they're in a doctor's office, when they haven't seen someone for a long time, there's certain social reflexes that just automatically get activated. It's not that they're thinking, I'm going to walk into the doctor's office and put on my best show, right? Even if that was the case, if the doctor was with them long enough, it's going to spill out, right? Those reflexes will eventually melt away. But to my point, care partners, your person with dementia is not going in thinking, I'm going to intentionally deceive this doctor. Their brain is just adapting automatically to the environment that they're in. When your person with dementia returns to you because you are familiar, those reflexes are not getting activated. And so you are seeing the real brain damage that's occurring with your person with dementia. You are seeing the impulse control problems. You are seeing the cursing. You are seeing the restlessness. You're seeing all the parts that the doctor isn't seeing. So the staging model doesn't explain how different environments are going to lead to a different presentation for your person with dementia. And because that's not explained, oftentimes care partners think, am I the problem? They're being so mean to me. Is it me? Am I failing in some way? No, you're not failing. What that means is they feel so familiar with you that certain reflexes are not getting activated in their brain. That's what that means. Fourth, care partners, stages don't predict behavior, they predict function. Two people in the same stage of dementia can look nothing alike. For example, someone in the mild stage of Lewy body dementia may have visual hallucinations, seeing things that aren't there, whereas someone in the mild stage of Alzheimer's dementia won't have visual hallucinations. They may have memory problems. So they're both in the same mild stage, however, they have different presentations, different behaviors, different symptoms, and that's because behaviors are shaped by many variables. For example, it's shaped by the dementia type. Behaviors are shaped by pain. Behaviors are shaped by sleep, sensory overload, emotional stress, how demands are placed on an individual. All of those will shape the presentation. If you solely go by stages, the stages don't always account for that, and therefore caregivers feel blindsided when reality doesn't match the behaviors that they're seeing. Finally, caregivers are taught the wrong question to ask. The stages train caregivers to ask, what stage are we in? But the better question to ask is, what is their brain struggling with today? Are they struggling with fear? Are they struggling with loss of control, overstimulation, confusion? When you can begin to answer those questions, care partners, you're going to have a calmer journey. And here's why. If the question is, are they struggling with fear today? Then you are going to set up the environment in a way that makes them feel calmer and more relaxed. If they feel calmer and more relaxed, you're going to have a calmer journey. If they are struggling with confusion today and you are now going to ask yourself, how can I break things down for them in an easier way? Now you're addressing the need. You are giving them what they need. And because you're giving them what they need, you're going to have an easier journey. So again, care partner, by only asking what stage are we in? Okay, moderate stage. Okay. What do you do with that? Right, care partners? I think it's good to know the stages. I think it's good to understand the stages. I also think it's important to understand the limitations of the stages, particularly in your day-to-day experience. When you can ask instead, are they struggling with loss of control? How can I frame my words in a way that gives them choice? It makes them feel empowered. If they're feeling empowered, they're going to fight with me less, right? If you can ask that question, care partners, you will indeed have a calmer journey. And here's a bit of a mindset reframe for you, care partners. For those of you who looked at the staging model and often felt so confused, why is this happening when we're in this stage? Hopefully today's video gave you the explanation that the emotional experience of what you're going through is left out of these staging models. While it's important to know the functional losses that are going to come, what's also important to know are what are some of the behaviors that you need to prepare for. And for those of you who want guidance and support in that preparation, then please feel free to book a call with me below to learn more about the Academy. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.